In 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to the 5G podcast.
My name is Steven.
My name is Trevor.
We hope you enjoy our conversations about God, guns, gaming, goals, and gastronomy.
Our point is to provide a honest, down-to-earth conversation between two average guys.
Thanks for watching and hope you enjoy.
All right.
So tell me
about Assassin's Creed.
So,
Mirage.
Mirage. I was on like TikTok or something like that, and just death scrolling, right?
Oh, yeah, nice.
And
It's good pastime.
I think it was on the toilet too or something like that, because obviously. But I was scrolling, and I saw an ad for a video game, and it didn't say what it was at first, right? And I was like, dude, this game looks sick. Like, this game looks dope. And then it was Assassin's Creed Mirage, so apparently they're going to, like, the Middle East or something. I don't know. It must have been, like, Turkey or something like that.
Okay.
It looked kind of like Constantinople.
Yeah, like
that
Crusade.
city. Yeah, Crusade.
Well, I guess, some of the previous ones have kind of been in that era-ish.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what the time period is, but it looks sick. Ryan has played, like, a bunch of these Assassin's Creed and loves them, but I've never played a single one. So I've watched her play them. I've watched Caleb play them in the past.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to know, like, because they did this
English?
yeah, it's my first language.
Reboot?
They did this switch from where it was, like, pretty, like, storyline
Yeah.
into, like, a more open world, like, tree storyline, right? Where there's a bunch of different paths that kind of
Just
intersect.
a little bit more open world.
There's, like, not, like, just, like, one path that you have to take. You can, like, zigzag across the map and, like, across the storyline and, keep doing stuff, and which is cool. And they did it really well, I think, because you have, like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is one of the ones that Ryan really likes to play.
Yeah.
And she would just, run around on her ship doing stuff and killing sharks, and then she'd go and do, like, a mission, and then, like, keep running around and doing whatever, and, like, getting loot and things like that. And so I wanted to get your opinion on, like, do you think that Assassin's Creed is one of the best examples of a video game that did do a switch well from
the
streamlined storyline into open world, and then how much more do they got? Because, like, the backstory of Assassin's Creed is kind of suffering now.
Yeah. I haven't played any of the recent ones, but that is kind of what I've heard. That it's like, how much can you do with, like, this random guy had an ancestor, and so you're going to go back in time to that and play through this piece of history. They might be running out of bits of history that we know about. I don't know, but the core gameplay is always super good. I mean, who doesn't love, like, the stealth mechanics plus the combat? If you nail those down, you're good. And then all the extra, like, the little things that add in, like, the open world has been kind of the biggest new thing for them. I gotta say, assuming Mirage is gonna follow that same.
It looks like it.
It looks like it. Yeah. I was looking at reviews for the last one. Valhalla, was that the Viking one? So I didn't play that one. I saw Odyssey. My little brother played that one and loved that. But I heard complaints on Valhalla that maybe their open world aspects were already kind of tapering off a little bit, and it seemed like you weren't totally rewarded for, like, just going out and exploring. That it's like kind of forced you on the main path, the main story.
Sure.
Or there wasn't really any reason to, any purpose
To go off the path.
Yeah, compared to, like, it's a hard comparison, but obviously we've been talking about Zelda, since that just came out. That one, like, you just look out in the distance in the game, and you're like, that kind of looks interesting. I want to go there. Sure. You'll probably get rewarded for going there and doing something in some way or another. There's different currencies in the game. There's tons of different side quests with rewards. Maybe you just kill some monsters, make some money, like. And so, like, at the point of the game that I'm at personally, it's kind of a late game where it's like, I don't need to just kill random monsters, make money. I don't care anymore. So I didn't play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I wonder if it was kind of that where there was, like, no reason to. And Zelda, to its point, doesn't have experience. You don't level up
Sure.
like a normal RPG. So I think open world seems to work well as an RPG because at the very least you're always seeing the numbers go up. You're always getting something done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd be intrigued if I read that it was maybe already on the decline, if they can pick it back up, or if they're just on the downslope.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I just thought it was kind of cool. Like I hadn't seen anything since Valhalla came out.
Not Valheim. That's
That's a different game. But I hadn't seen anything since Valhalla came out, and that's been a couple of years. I
think so.
3 or 4 years. Like I think it came out pre-COVID.
No, surely not.
I think so. 2019 or 2020, so maybe like right at the beginning of COVID. I don't know, but I'm just I'm curious to see how well they can rescue the open world aspect if they want to.
Yeah.
Right, because the original games were fantastic.
Yeah, they were
right?
good. I played those a bunch.
Everyone talks about 1, 2, and I think 3 being
1, 2, 3 was like the original trilogy.
Yeah, and those were like the greatest. Like everyone talked about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. One of the first ones that might have been pseudo open world was number 4 was the pirate one.
Black
Flag. I played that one too. Actually, I didn't realize it at the time because it seemed like I thought they went back after that to like their normal linear story. They had like Brotherhood or one or two others.
There was Assassin's Creed and 2. I think it was just called Assassin's Creed 2.
2.
Or maybe that was called Brotherhood.
Yeah, I don't recall, but
I don't remember. There's been like I think Mirage is gonna be like the 7th or 8th.
Yeah, but the pirate one was pretty good, and that like wasn't a true open world, but it was cool that you had at least a little bit bigger, and there was some form of traversal that gives the player like something to do, something to keep you engaged.
Yeah,
because in a linear story, it's really easy to keep the player engaged. You're either split up by missions like Halo, or it's just like from one fight to the next. It's kind of easy to guide you along.
Yeah.
In an open world, you need some other way to guide the player.
Yeah, that's true. And usually they do that with like quest markers on maps and things.
Yeah,
like that, right?
yeah.
And then you have to get that's how Odyssey did it.
Mm-hmm.
Was that like once you completed a quest, you like return and like talk to the quest giver or whatever, and got a reward or whatever, and then they would send you to another person, and then that would pop up on your map.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I'm just curious to see how well they can continue that kind of because it like if they returned to the original like
linear
wide storyline, but it's like still a storyline, right? Where it's like you can like roam around and do random stuff, but like there's only one quest to do at a time, right? Like that might not be a bad thing for them to do, considering like everyone is doing open world right now, and most of them are doing it poorly.
Yeah, there's just like not enough to do.
Yeah,
in the world,
and so I think that they either need to do what like Zelda's done and make it like, oh yeah, there's always something to do and the replayability is like there.
Yeah.
Or do we make it streamlined story with like still freedom of choice, right? Like whatever, you know, weapon selection, things like that, obviously. But you know, make it a streamlined story where you just like get from point A to point B. You put your 50 hours in for $60 or whatever it is, and you win, and then maybe you go back and try to do something different,
harder difficulty,
or
something,
right? But
I kind of bouncing off of that. I watched a video this week on YouTube talking about Zelda and sort of analyzing it, because looking back at the last one, Zelda Breath of the Wild, that sort of inspired a lot of people to do open world things. That was 6 years ago, because they saw the success of Zelda, right? And some were hits, some not so much. You could probably look at Fortnite or like PUBG with battle royales. Tons of people did battle royales. Some were great, some not so much. I saw this video that posited that the new Zelda game was an immersive sim, which I didn't know what that was. And the guy on the video, he's like, "Yeah, they didn't advertise it as this because it sounds dumb." I see the look on your face. You're like, "That sounds dumb." Immersive sim is sort of a genre of video games where it's, how do I best explain it? It's like you're given it doesn't have to be an open world per se, but you're given a big sandbox basically and an objective, but it doesn't tell you how to do that. You're given the sandbox, the objective, and the tools to do whatever you want. And so he gave kind of a funny example in the video. It was from Polygon. They do tons of like video game stuff on YouTube. They got some funny videos. But he gave the example in Red Dead Redemption 2. One of the first missions is like the mission objective says stop the train, and you're like, oh, okay. And he satirically he says, oh, but what they really mean is plant the explosives at these specific spots. Try to go press the plunger down, but it's broken, so you have to go jump on the train and shoot, gunfight your way up to the front, fist fight the conductor, and then stop the train and jump off as it explodes or whatever, like off of a cliff. I don't know. He's like, in a immersive sim game, it would be stop the train. That's it. Like, you figure out how to do it. And there's any number of ways to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. He made me realize that I like immersive sim games, even though I didn't know this. But some of the ones he referenced are like some of my favorite games that I've played before. There's one called Deus Ex. Way back in 2000, it was the first one they made, Deus Ex. They've had a couple newer ones, but it's like long story short, it's like a futuristic game. So it's cyborg, you get tons of cybernetic enhancements or whatever. But that game, for like a game made in 2000, was really cool. It was really immersive because you'd have these big missions. So even though it was like linear, your goal was like you go to this level and you have a thing to do. But there's tons of like little mini things to do in the level. If it's like, okay, I have to get to that end of the enemy facility or whatever, and at one point you're blocked by a door, you're like, okay, I need to go get the key card at the door maybe. So you can just go like hack a computer, pick a lock, find the key card, whatever. Or you can maybe stack up a bunch of boxes to get through the vents, and then you climb through and you're past the door.
Yeah.
You need to. Or you can blackmail the guard to let you through. Just variety like that.
Kind of like Hitman type thing.
Yes, yeah, that was
So would
totally.
Hitman be a immersive sim?
That was another example where you have an objective, and then it's just have at it. They gave the players the tools, maybe a little tutorial, and then after that, it's you're free to do whatever you want.
Interesting. See, I have a problem. So how do I say this? I've probably just not played enough of these games.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've tried playing Hitman,
Yeah.
and I can't beat the stinking levels, man.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like I beat the first level, and then I moved on to the second one, and like eventually I was like, trying to do the thing where like, oh, I sneak in, and it's like I'm like 4 hours into this playthrough,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not beaten it yet. Like the
Yeah.
second level,
It
like
is.
I can't do it. And so I think the second level on this, whichever one I was playing, I think I was playing 3 or something like that. I literally just like I was like, all right, well I can't do it sneaky, so we're going in.
Guns blazing.
And so I snuck as much as I could without like trying to like take my time. I was just like, all right,
get
well
close
you're
to
dead.
the target.
Dunk, just the pistol, right? And then I was like, well, I've alerted some people, so
Yeah, you're
AR-15 it is.
deep in enemy territory, but you completed your mission. You just have to escape.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, here we go.
Yeah, it's the Hitman games. I do enjoy those ones as well. Like I said, I didn't know I liked this genre.
Like Payday.
Payday. Okay, yeah, Payday would be a good. Again, it's like a
Yeah.
contained level. You got to go rob the bank. But it's how do you rob the bank? How do you do it?
Yeah.
And there's tons of different skills. It can be like an RPG, or it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Different ways to do it. One that I really liked is a pretty underrated game called Prey. This one you're on like a space station, and there's these weird like kind of robot aliens. Long story short, but you can interact with like everything in that environment. So the example he gives is like when you play Call of Duty, right, and you need to open a door, you press the button on the wall and it opens the door. You pull the if it's a normal door, you just open it up with a handle, and you go forward and you press E or you press X on your controller. In Prey, if it like a door is locked and it's all the way over there, you can like throw something at the switch and it'll open the door.
Oh, interesting.
Or they give you like a dart gun and you can just shoot a dart at it and it opens the door. So you can interact with everything.
Yeah, that's cool.
If you have to like get into a room but you can't open the door, maybe there's like say just a little tiny passage that you can crawl through. Not you can't fit through, but one of the alien abilities is you can like you can inhabit other like objects. So then you like turn into a coffee mug and like roll through.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like there's more than one way to solve the objective is the point.
That's cool.
So I think people are going to see how well this Zelda did, and there's gonna be a surge of games like that. Maybe they won't call them immersive sims, but of sort of that puzzle solving,
like immersive RPGs or something like that.
Yeah,
It sounds better.
Something that to just like really promote that creativity.
Interesting. So would you say like, would Minecraft be like an immersive sim as well?
There's not really an objective in Minecraft.
Oh, that's fair.
You can go kill the Ender Dragon, but
that's fair.
Again, it's you spawn in and let's go punch a tree. That one is more like a true sandbox.
Yeah.
Where it's they give you a good environment and some good tools, but I don't want to say there's nothing to do, but they don't tell you to do anything.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So in a way, it is still like guided, a guided process.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Thought that would.
I'm sure that someone's eventually going to come along and be like, oh, well, obviously, like, open world is like the best thing ever, right? And someone's going to come along and be like, is it though?
Yeah.
Because you have to have like content to fill the world.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be a reason to
and so,
be
like,
an open world.
Yeah, like this was the problem with Halo Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Was that there's, Halo has always had storylines.
Yeah.
And like, which makes sense because it's like Master Chief is a special operations guy. Right?
Yeah, he wouldn't
like he's like the god tier Navy SEAL.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He wouldn't have time to like go play Minecraft. Like just
and so like he's like
whatever.
super like obviously like the military mindset
Side
is like
quests.
super objective focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like an adventurer can be open world because you're an adventurer. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Or like in like Skyrim or Oblivion or
totally
the Zelda's games.
Even if there's a main quest, it's like probably not time sensitive.
Yeah.
Or they cheese it a little bit. It's like, Link, you gotta go save Zelda. You're like,
do I though?
She's fine. Like, can you imagine like in the Mario games? Princess Peach is in the castle, and Mario's like, I'll get to that eventually. That's some of the new like the 3D Marios are kind of like that. So
that's funny. That would be funny. But I'm just thinking like Halo
doesn't work with his or Call of Duty. Doesn't work.
It's like that is like objective focused.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are a military operative, get the operation done.
Yeah, you're following orders. Like
and so.
And I think we mentioned the replayability in games like that is kind of in how you get there or how you do things, but it's mostly like point and shoot. Like, what gun do you use? Right? There's tactics and vehicles, and it's more fun with friends because that introduces new elements. But there's only one way to go.
Yeah. Shoot, what is the name of the game? Do you remember the sniper game that I got?
Sniper Elite Warrior Ghost Contracts.
Ghost Warrior Ghost Recon
2.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was it was some combination of. That's why I don't remember the name of the game because it's not like Call of Duty.
Yeah,
or Halo.
It's
like
just a bunch of tactical sounding words strung together.
It really is. What is it? Sniper Elite Ghost Contracts?
Sniper
2?
Elite Warrior Ghost Contracts?
I don't know what it's called. It's something like that though, right?
2.
But that game is super linear,
Mm.
right? Like super linear.
Yeah.
But they give you so many options on how to do it. Like you can take the stealth route, or you can literally just like, all right, well, there's 7 guys here. I got 7 bullets in my gun. Just dum 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 dum. And they give you like different loadouts you can equip, right? You can.
Okay.
So I really liked that game because there was just one single objective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like do this in the game, and there was like side quests you could do that were like pervade throughout the game.
Oh, okay.
Right, and there was like different like not mission objectives, but like kill this many people with the silenced sniper rifle, or complete this mission with just the bow. Right,
mm-hmm.
or whatever, right? I don't know what we would call those, like prestige accomplishments or something
achievements.
Like that. Achievements. That's
achievements
achievements.
Are big, yeah.
And so, I beat the game, and then I beat it on medium, and then I was like, okay, I can beat this on hard. So I played it on hard, and then they don't call it medium and hard; they call it whatever stupid words.
Veteran.
Yeah, exactly. It's like recruit, veteran, experience, super soldier.
Legendary.
I am Goku. But so I beat it on like the I think I did like the second highest difficulty.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Like that was like fine, but it wasn't like fun again.
Mhm.
It was like it was fun,
okay.
but it wasn't like, yeah, this is sick, right?
It was kind of the same.
But what was really fun was going back to the first one I beat on the medium, and then trying to get those weird achievements.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like beat this level without killing anyone, and like you can do it, but it's like really, really difficult.
It's hard, yeah.
And they have different types of enemies and stuff like that, and so it's a good game. And so I think that there is like, and like it was like $40 or something like that.
Mhm.
I didn't get it on a Steam sale or anything like that.
But you got
but
$40.
Man, I got way more than $40 worth of entertainment out of it.
there's something to be said about achievements. It feels kind of dumb, but for a lot of people, it's like you do something cool, and on Steam especially, like it'll pop up right.
Yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, I did it. You can click on it and see what percentage of other players have done this. You're like 0.3% of players have done this. Like, man, I feel awesome. And it's those like little hits of dopamine. Just thinking back, one of the other complaints I saw with Assassin's Creed Valhalla is when they put it on Steam, they didn't add any achievements.
Oh, that's annoying.
And so it's like, yeah, there's no reason to like go explore, find Easter eggs,
Yeah.
and get little achievements pop up. I know there's like a huge community of gamers who will like 100% games on Steam.
Yeah.
It looks nice. Our Ian does that all the time. It'll be like, I gotta play this game again. I'm trying to get one achievement. I'm like, dude, a playthrough of that game was like 10 hours. It's like, yeah, but I gotta get it. I got 100%. I'm only 4 achievements away. Like,
when I see him on games, sometimes I'm like, that is the most random game ever. And it came out in like 2007 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's doing.
He's probably achievement hunting. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that was. I mean, I could assume that was a thing because
Mhm.
I've seen people do it on like CS:GO.
Yeah,
Where,
sure.
And I've tried to do it on CS:GO where it's like, I'll scroll through all of the achievements I don't have and
Get
it's
a
like,
kill with the enemy's gun, or
yeah,
things
or it's
that.
like get 300 kills with the FAMAS or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'll just
okay.
use the FAMAS for the next 7 games. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Or more than 7 games for 300 kills. But I would have already had like 200 of them or something like that. So I'm like, oh, I need 100 more kills, so
Yeah,
I'll
it's
just
just not
farm
fishing out.
that instead of using like a normal gun.
Mhm.
I'll just use the P90 for 17 games or whatever.
Ooh,
and,
yeah.
I usually, depending on if it's in comp or casual, I'll usually get in competitive. I get like in ranked. I get like 0 kills. That's not true, but like it feels that way because like then I'll go to like just casuals and like run around 10v10, and I'll just like get like 25 kills or something like that, and then in like a ranked match I'm like justifiably right because I'll get like 1 or 2 kills per round, and sometimes like I'll just get like headshot with a scout from freaking across the map. I'm like,
the experience gap there is.
yeah, just because like in the casuals they just fill lobbies, right? I think they try to match skill a little bit, but like some people that don't play ranks they get thrown into whatever lobby, right? And so some lobbies I'll play and I'm like, dude, like just a casual lobby, I'm like, dude, I'm getting obliterated. I've gone 0-8.
Yeah.
No assist, just 0-0-8.
You're like, I thought I was good at this game.
Yeah, no, and I usually just log off after that game because I'm like, all right, well,
I'm done.
and like it's just like the craziest thing. I'll get just like one tap from across the map with like a deagle, and it's like, what the heck,
Well,
man?
some guy doing the achievement. He's got a headshot from 50
Yeah,
yards
something
away
dumb,
with
right?
a pistol.
But then there are some achievements in CS:GO that are like ridiculous. It's like kill 4 members of the enemy team with a single grenade,
Wow, yeah.
and it's like
That doesn't happen in that game.
no, and like you could try farming that like casuals for that,
Mm-hmm.
but like that I just be
That's tough.
so ridiculously hard to do.
It's you got to find a balance as well. I feel like in game design of like you want maybe some easy achievements, just I'll get 300 kills with this gun or whatever. But then like some of your harder achievements can be kind of out there because then your players feel cool when they get it, or there was like a reason to doing something that maybe they didn't know was an achievement. But then it's almost like what is the reward as well? Either in game or the Steam achievement, is that enough? The little dopamine hit, maybe.
I think it would be really cool if they did that and then they gave you like if you get this achievement you get a special skin.
Yeah, cosmetics. Yep.
Like when you get the FAMAS kills,
Mm-hmm.
you get a cool FAMAS skin.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right, and it doesn't have to be
So-
like the fanciest new skin that comes out. It's just a standard skin factory new skin.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That if you get that achievement, you get this skin. And then like if you're playing with that, everyone's like, oh yeah, he like knows how to use this gun.
The old Call of Duty. I mean, I played Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 1, like probably more than anything. I think they did that as like
with like the gold gun.
gold
I think they
guns,
still
yeah.
have that
Okay,
system. I'm not 100% sure because it's been a minute since I played Call of Duty.
Sure. That one I remember playing a ton when I was younger with my older brother. We would replay the campaign because again it was maybe like 6 to 8 hours. It didn't have achievements, and we beat it on the normal difficulty and then turned it up. We're like, okay. So we invented our own achievements basically, and as competition against each other, we'd be like, okay,
yeah.
for this run, you gotta beat every mission using like just the first gun they give you or whatever, or you have to always use an enemy's gun. So you start the mission, you have to like melee the first enemy and take his gun and just use that one. So ammo becomes an issue, or just pistols or whatever, which is really hard on the sniper levels.
Can you do it?
I'm pretty sure we did. I remember
the sniper level,
doing
just
that.
you're sitting there with like the beginning pistol, just like
yeah.
just launch it. That's one thing that I really enjoyed about this Sniper Elite Ghost Recon Commander Sphere, whatever, Majiggy 3. Yeah.
Oh, came out with the third one.
Yeah, no. Is that you had to compensate for bullet drop.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, here's your crosshair and like bang. Like they gave you a scope each, like you could equip different scopes to each gun, right? And then they had the like MOA or mil dot tree.
Yeah.
It's called a ballistic coefficient calculator. BCR, ballistic coefficient reticle, or something like that.
Yeah.
That might be wrong. It's something along those lines. But basically, it's a tree that says like, okay, these are like your wind holds, and then this is like your elevation holds.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the game, they give you scopes that you can do that with if it's like one of the long distance ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like the longest distant mission in that game is like 2 kilometers or something like that. Like, what's even crazier though is you have to like you can't just like, okay, yeah, it's 2,000 kilometers, so I'm putting it down on like the 2,000 kilometers. But it's like
on the 2,000 line.
The enemy is walking.
Oh jeez. And then at that distance, there's wind. There's
Yeah,
all
and
sorts
so
of
it's like, oh
factors.
yeah, the wind is like, and the scope is an advanced scope, so it tells you the wind like direction and like how much is blowing. So
That's nice.
you can do that in real life. It's called a kestrel.
Mm.
You just hold up a kestrel and it tells you the wind and which direction it's going and
Nice.
stuff like that. So you can do it IRL, but it's way easier in the game because it just tells you.
Yeah.
But then like on like the harder difficulties, on the easiest difficulty, it gives you a dot on where to aim. Like you scan the enemy and it's like, oh yeah, aim here. And you're
Okay.
like, okay.
Point and shoot.
Yeah, and then but in like the harder ones, you just have to like guess basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just like, all right, well, he's moving about that quick, and so if I like, and you're like,
here, so I aim
and
up
you're like,
here.
all right, well, I can barely see him in the scope now. He's like in the bottom corner right here, so boom,
Wow.
bam, and when you get a headshot in that game, it's just sick.
It's satisfying.
Especially in that because you're like, oh yeah, like one shot kill with that is
Mhm.
like the most satisfying thing ever.
Like,
because
I
you're
did
like,
it. I did it right.
Yeah,
The dopamine hit it.
and then that game has the most gruesome, like kill shot camera.
Oh, it gives you a
If you get like a super good kill, like a super cool one,
It
if you-
rewinds it in slow mo or something.
well, what happens is you pull the trigger, you go bink, and it goes, and it follows
It
the
follows
bullet,
the bullet, yeah,
and then
that's
it like shows it going like through the guy's skull or whatever, and you're like, ah, that was dope.
because he was just a pixel on your screen.
Yeah.
So you could actually see.
Yeah, and so it's pretty cool, like that, like the more in depth mechanics and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I don't know how I got on that, but
Yeah.
it's just that type of mechanic is super sick.
Yeah.
Where it's like you gotta, but like that's like the shooter in me coming out, where it's like I enjoy doing that in
You
real
like
life anyway.
Real life,
So-
target.
But I've never done besides like clay pigeons. I've never done like a moving target rifle.
No,
shot,
yeah,
right.
like you gotta pull out the rangefinder and the kestrel and have your
Yeah.
spotter.
And even like when people go hunting, it's like you don't shoot a running deer.
No, yeah, not at 2,000 meters.
Well, no one shoots anything at 2,000 meters. Like, I mean, there are competitions for that, but it's like the target is like a 3 foot by 3 foot square, and you just have to hit the square,
Enormous.
right?
That's close enough.
Like the long distance shooting, like begins at like, depending on who you ask, like
1,000 meters?
no, like 400.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like 400 meters is like that's a long
It's
shot.
a long distance shot.
Like you'd be surprised, like go out on like a football field, and like put a little like cone or whatever. Have a buddy stand at the end zone, and you go to the other end zone,
That's pretty.
and it's like that's a long shot.
Yeah.
Like if you had no magnification, that's like a decently long shot. Now to hit like a torso-sized target is not difficult at 100 yards.
Yeah.
With even just a red dot, but if you're pushing
Double
out
that,
double that to
quadruple
200, 200 is like the maximum like not effective, but like I wouldn't want to shoot anything over 200 yards without any sort of magnification.
Oh, yeah. You need better scopes for that, totally.
You need some sort of scope or red dot magnifier or something like that just to even be able to see the target basically.
Right.
Because if you have a let's say a 12 inch by 12 inch target, a square foot, you have a 3 minute of angle dot in your rifle. That dot is 6 inches. It covers up 6 inches of that target, and so if you put it in that square, you only got 3 inches on each side.
Yeah, to even see.
And can you see 3 inches at 200 yards? It's like
I can't.
Yeah, that's like 3 inches is that big.
Right.
Can you see like something like if I stuck a little like pencil in the ground, neon orange like highlighter or something like that, 3 inches, like you would have a hard time seeing that. And so,
Yeah.
but if you have a magnifier on it, that increases your capability dramatically. And then obviously scopes are just like cheating sometimes.
The technology's certainly gotten better, yeah.
Oh yeah, you can get some scopes that are so tiny now that are
Like 12 times.
oh yeah,
magnification.
and like you can buy them for cheap. Like I have a 4 to 12 scope on my hunting rifle.
Yeah.
And it's a 6-hour scope. They have like a lifetime warranty, like everything. Bought it from 6 Hour for like $350, $400, which is not like the most amazing piece of scope technology in the world.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just like a normal it's just a cross reticle, but like it's a 4x12 on a hunting scope. I'm not gonna take a shot over like 250 yards anyway with it.
No, yeah.
Like zero chance. Right?
Certainly not all hunting, yeah.
And so, like, maybe I would put it at a 300, but still. But like, there are scopes out there that are like, they have this Christmas tree reticle, and like, there are some scopes that are like super expensive, but their capability is so advanced.
Yeah.
Like, it tells you can like calculate everything in there. You can use it to calculate distance to a target, right? Just like by looking through the scope, and it's like, man, you don't even need like a real rangefinder if you're just shooting at like a big target.
It's all
right?
built in, yeah.
I mean, you should use a rangefinder still, but if you're just shooting for effect, right? And if you have a torso-sized target out in the middle of whatever, and it's 1,000 yards away, you can measure that on in the scope itself and say, like, yeah, I think it's 1,000 yards away. And then you can put it on 1,000, and then it went a little bit high, come out of it. It went a little bit low, come up a little bit, And so it's like, it's really cool. Compared that to like, what in the gun world, the biggest technology developments right now are with optics.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
insane what they're coming up with. Like if you think about, they were messing with red dots and like fiber optic sights in World War II.
Yeah.
But they were complete trash. And now there are companies coming out with hybrid thermal red dot sights that are this big, and it has a thermal camera built into it that overlays a red dot on the thermal camera.
Wow. That's pretty neat.
And you can switch off the thermal.
Yeah.
But you can just have a
Just
normal
have
red
a
dot.
red, yeah.
You can switch on the thermal and have like this cool thermal. And they also have
And it's not huge. I've seen like old ones are pretty.
No, it's literally smaller than freaking this Red Bull can. It's so tiny. It's literally just like a box.
Just
like,
a normal red dot size is all it looks like.
It's the same size as an EOTech, right? Which is a relatively small optic. I mean, it's still a chunky box, but
Yeah.
like it's crazy. It's crazy. And then you have like just regular red dot optics that are just tube optics that are crystal clear looking through them, and they're stupid cheap.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should put one on their guns. Like, if you have any sort of gun, you there's no reason for you not to have a red dot on.
Slap an optic on there. Yeah.
Because it's literally like you can find some cheap ones that are like real firearm rated, not the stupid airsoft ones that you buy on Amazon, for like $200, $250.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
And like your accuracy goes through the roof with them because you don't have to freaking mess with a peep sight and a post or whatever, or those stupid AK sights which are like 2 bars and a third bar, and it's like, okay, well,
Hold up.
yeah. So that's kind of a segue into the next thing we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is getting into hobbies later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so growing up, I was never into like the nerdy stuff.
Nerd
right?
hobbies, yeah.
Like the only nerd stuff I did was when I was hanging out with you guys, and most of the time it was just so I could hang out with you guys,
Yeah.
my friends, right?
Oh, don't tell anybody else I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh at school.
Yeah, exactly. Like I played Yu-Gi-Oh because I had one Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and you and Caleb had like 17 or whatever it was, right? And this is like 8th grade, and I had one, and I would just like, I didn't care about the cards. I would just like throw a rubber band around them and like throw them in my backpack. They were beat to crap, and I was just like, yeah, my friends play this, so I have to play this, right?
Yep.
Which is fine, right? And then, you know, in high school we stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh in like 8th grade or whatever, 7th grade.
We found out it wasn't socially acceptable.
Yeah, getting bullied during lunch because we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Freaking yeah.
Leave us alone.
I just want to eat our lunch in peace and make wholesale bombs. But then going through like high school and stuff like that, like I wrestled in high school. Not super nerdy on the wrestling team. There was some, but they like kind of hit it a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was like a little bit of Pokemon.
Yeah, like Pokemon was like the most intense thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No one was playing D&D or Magic or Warhammer 40K or whatever, right?
No.
And then, you know, the years passed, and then our senior year of high school was the first time I played D&D. And I was like, okay, this was like fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, this was fun. I could play this again. And then, you know, years passed, blah, 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 blah. And now it's like, and in high school that was the first time I played Magic and things like that.
Oh, yep.
And so for me, getting into like the new hobbies, I'm still like a super novice when it comes to like Magic or D&D or you know, like super novice in Warhammer.
Just getting into that one, yeah.
But like my other hobbies, I've been doing for like years. Like, let's see, 12, 15. I've been shooting guns for 23 years. Because the first time I shot a gun, I was 4.
That's impressive. All right.
I've been shooting competitively for
12.
the first time I ever did a competition, I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And so that is 12 years, 13 years. Yeah. And so
Those hobbies you have solidified. Like
yeah, I mean, freaking 20 years of shooting guns.
Yeah.
Right? And like obviously like when I was like 4 to 12, that doesn't probably really count.
Maybe count, but
You know?
well, as a contrast, I mean, I consider I've been playing Magic since I was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Since I could read, I'm like, ooh, all right, attack. Like, understand well enough.
Yeah, and so the hobby aspect, getting into like new hobbies has been interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And learning like, oh yeah, like this is like really fun. And like I didn't have video games growing up either.
Right, yeah.
And so
Those are also
like I would come over to your house or Caleb's house and like play games, and I always sucked because like Caleb would like here's an Xbox controller. I'm like, I've never held one of these before.
What is this?
Like how do he's like, oh yeah, just push A, and I'd have to look down and like figure out which one was A. He's like, oh yeah, just push the left bumper. It's like, what the freak is the left bumper? And I'd have to like look at it and move my finger up and click the left bumper. Or that was the right bumper, the left bumper.
You still don't know what the left bumper
No,
is.
and so I've never owned an Xbox or a PlayStation or like any console like that, not even like not a Wii or anything like that. And so the first time I like actually like started playing video games was when I got my first laptop. And I downloaded Minecraft on it.
What's your first? I didn't realize.
Minecraft was the first video game I ever owned.
Yeah.
And then from there I built my gaming
And then
PC.
the addiction started.
And then especially what happened was when COVID hit,
Yeah, well, yeah.
that like you, me, Caleb, and Colin and everyone else, we were just like, yeah, let's just go ham on all these different games. You know, Minecraft server, Valheim server,
Ark,
yeah, all these different
mostly
things.
survival games. Yeah,
You know, I think Caleb and I put like freaking, I don't know, 300 hours on CS:GO together.
yeah.
And then,
In
you
that
know,
time.
and then we put, you know, I have over 1,000 hours on Smite now, which I haven't played in 6 months, but, you know, during COVID, Caleb and I put freaking 700 hours in on Smite.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's just interesting, like, do you have anything that you get into now, or are you, like, your hobbies are kind of like nerdy altogether,
Yeah,
more or less.
More or less, and they've been around for a long time. But it is, I find it interesting as an adult. You have more, not more time, but maybe at the very least more money for hobbies. So you kind of feel a little bit like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
Especially when you start a new hobby, you're just like, oh man, like it's so exciting and cool. I can't wait to. I want to get this random little accessory. I found myself with Warhammer as my latest big one. And Warhammer is super cool because it's basically 4 hobbies in one, of like the collecting them because they hold value, and then build them, and then you gotta paint them and play with them. So there's all sorts of, like, it can attract a lot of different people. There's a big crowd for it. But ever since I got into it, I found myself like randomly going to like craft stores. Me 10 years ago would have never gone into a craft store. I'm like, I don't
Like a Hobby Lobby?
Yeah. I was like,
Okay.
I don't do art. I'm not creative. I'm all left brain or whatever, logic brain. But no, it's like, oh, I gotta go get a new paintbrush. Just dumb things like that. Of like, oh yeah, I need popsicle sticks. I need a new color of paint. Of just dinky little things. I need super glue. Like, oh, Home Depot's got the best price for super glue. I gotta stop at Home Depot next time.
Hilarious.
Like, and it's, I think Kid in the Candy Store is probably the best example of that. I feel like I have the ability to jump into a new hobby. Things I never would have considered myself doing previously, but it's almost, a lot of them are kind of almost relaxing, a little cathartic. Like, I enjoy painting. I never thought I would enjoy painting little minis of like finding a color scheme and then actually just like, oh, this is kind of nice, relaxing. I can listen to some cool lo-fi or whatever and just relax and paint. It's weird. It's weird because most of the time, if you ask, again, teenager me in free time, I was just always playing video games.
Yeah.
Like, it's just what I did all the time. But now it's like, oh, maybe I'll sit down and like build some guys, which is kind of the Lego aspect as well.
Yeah,
I
sure.
like building things, but yeah, like crafting is kind of my new hobby.
My current problem now is because I had all my hobbies from, like, I was a youth, and, like, you know, I've still kept all of those hobbies, right? My problem now is that I've started to have too many hobbies because I've started getting into Magic and Warhammer. Like, Colin helped me put together my Warhammer list, and I just went through, and I'm not going to buy all the Warhammer stuff because I don't want to spend freaking $17,000.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just resin 3D print them all.
3D printing is another hobby, though.
Well, that's another one of mine, too, because, like, I started really getting into that. And so Caleb and I bought that resin printer together, and so we're printing our Warhammer armies on that, which is a gajillion times cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, way cheaper than if we were to buy the actual minis. But then, like, Magic cards, like, I had, when I was, I don't know, freaking 20, 21, Colin gifted me my first Magic deck.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was the only one I had, so I played with that one for like 4 years.
Just like Yu-Gi-Oh! When we were in junior high, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just played with that one. And every time we played, I had to dust it off.
Yeah.
Because I would take it out to play with you guys.
It's like,
and then...
What are the rules again?
Exactly. I'd be like, so a sorcery I can play anytime? No, it's only instants. Oh, okay. And lands count as spells? No, they don't. Oh, okay.
Everything else is a spell.
I counterspell. Well, you can only counter sorceries with that card. Oh, okay.
All right.
I counter target or creature activated ability. You can't do that. Oh, okay.
Come on, Steven. Just read the card.
This is me all the time, though. I'm just like sitting there like, oh yeah, I definitely can do this, right? This says counter spell. That's a spell. Counter. That's not a spell. Oh, okay.
Right.
And so I had like the one deck, and then after moving back down from Utah, Colin again gifted me the Tyranid deck because Colin's like the freaking homie. And then I was like, okay, this is like pretty fun. And so I went on Amazon and bought 2 more pre-con decks. And then I just put together my
very
first Owen deck, which I freaking am in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's cool.
It's my favorite, like maybe not my favorite deck because I really like the Tyranids deck.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of fun to play, and like I'm proud of it because I put it together and it actually works.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it works pretty well, you know. So it's kind of fun for me to do that. But now I'm having too many hobbies.
Too many hobbies, yeah.
Because
not enough disposable income.
or time.
Yeah.
Because like it's like, okay, I have 4 hours on a Friday afternoon, 6 hours on a Friday afternoon, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saturday or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to go shooting for fun? Do I want to go shooting for practice?
Mm-hmm.
Which are 2 different things. Like
yes,
they're very different things.
Yeah.
Do I want to go into a workshop and build a new project?
Mm-hmm.
Which that's what I did for fun in high school. Besides shooting, because shooting was expensive, and my dad paid for ammo when I was in high school and stuff like that.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So I would go into the workshop and build knives or make furniture or
mm-hmm.
Cutting boards and things like that. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's what I did for fun in high school when I was not freaking dying from wrestling practice. And so now that's the problem. Is like, okay, I have a few hours. What do I want to do? Do I want to go shooting? Do I want to go shooting for practice? Do I want to, build put together a new Magic deck?
Yeah, look at Magic cards.
Do I want to look at new Warhammer stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to create a new character for a D&D campaign?
Got a new campaign coming up. Yeah, I got it.
So it's like, man, what do I want to do? Do I want to just, go out and go off-roading in my car?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I want to do?
Is there some sort of new skill I want to learn online?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a bookshelf full of books I haven't read, or maybe I want to
reread.
reread.
Well, and that's another thing. So in high school, what I did was I would either be in the shop
mm-hmm.
working on stuff, and luckily my dad had a really nice shop because he also didn't do any of the nerdy stuff, and so he was also in the shop all the time, right?
That. Yeah.
When he was not working, or I would read.
Mm-hmm.
Like my family has like a library, like a legitimate library with like a rolling ladder, just built into a corner of the wall.
Yeah.
And I have my own personal library now that is like
it's big.
Hundreds and hundreds of books. Like legitimately. Like when Ryan and I moved down from Utah.
Somebody was just boxes of
we had those big old boxes with the yellow lids, the black
mm-hmm.
boxes with yellow lids that you can get from like Home Depot or whatever.
Yeah. It's a good price at Home Depot. I've seen them.
Yeah, they are.
On the way to the
store.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We use it too.
Yeah. They're really nice boxes.
Professional grade. Yeah.
They're really nice. But we had literally 6 of those full of books.
Oh, man.
And like they're like 20 inches by 36 inches.
Yeah,
or something
they're pretty
like that.
deep. Yeah.
They're massive, and then another 20 inches that way or whatever. They're big boxes, and so we had like literally 6 of those boxes full of books. I'll read anything,
mm-hmm.
and I love reading, and so I have a book series that I really like to read. Do I want to just spend 4 hours reading that and just get super into it, finish that book? It's like, man, what do I even do now? So now the problem is I just get like analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Where I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what I want. Like I love all of these hobbies. I don't know what to do. Yeah. And so it's like I can't just like. So it's like hard for me to just like do something now because I have so many options.
My wife remarks sometimes I don't know if I get the analysis paralysis so much, but it's like if I set my mind to one thing, it's like I'm going to do this in my free time, and then if I can't do that, I just like my brain just shuts down. It's like we're done for the day. Let's just go to sleep. It'll be like 8:30 or whatever, and I don't know, maybe the internet goes out or whatever. And I was playing Zelda, for instance. I don't think the internet actually went out, but this did happen semi-recently. I couldn't play Zelda for some reason. I don't remember why. Maybe it's because I cut my thumb. And it was like the night of, so I couldn't press the buttons. Anyway, so it was like 8:30, and I was like, I think I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. She's like, you're not tired. You're just bored. I'm like, no, I'm not bored. I'm tired. Like,
I'm tired, woman.
I'm going to bed. And then, like, she was just like, you're dumb. Like, you just... I set my mind to one thing. This is what I want to do in my free time. When in reality, I have so many other things I can do. Like, it's... Really, the problem is the opposite of, like, okay, I should go read a book or work on some crafts or whatever, find a new skill, a new hobby. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, usually what happens for me is like I still don't love playing video games by myself.
Yeah.
I do it if I'm bored.
I find myself doing less of that as I get older.
I've definitely cut down, especially since being out of school. When I was in school, like college, right?
Yeah.
That was one of the ways I could like decompress, which is
Yeah.
hilarious because I play competitive games.
Uh-huh.
But like I could just like turn off my learning part of the brain.
Yeah, I got an hour in between classes. I'm just gonna.
I'll hop into a casual CS:GO lobby, or I'll hop into one game of Smite or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Ghost Warrior Recon 17, or whatever. And I'll just turn my brain off for an hour or whatever, hour or two, and then
Yep.
to give myself a break and then do homework or whatever, and then go to bed, whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, I don't have like any homework to do,
I have homework. Graduated.
and so like, what do I do now? And it's like, well, play video games, I guess. But I'm like sitting there, I'm like,
Yeah.
if I have like a really good game of CS:GO, I'm like, okay, this is fun, like this is all right. But then most of the time, I'm just like getting pissed off at my teammates
Yeah.
or the enemy team because like, I'm like top in the lobby or whatever. I'm like number one on my
You're
team.
carrying the team.
I'm number one on my team, but I'm like 4-7.
Oh, so you're doing bad, but you're
I'm
the
doing
best
horribly,
one.
but I'm like number 1 or 2 on the team out of a 10-man lobby.
Yeah, that's rough.
And then half the time, I'm number 1 on the team, but I'm freaking 17-1, and the number 2 person is 3-3.
Yeah.
It's like,
So that's just frustrating when it's supposed to be your hobbies is like your free time. You want to relax or enjoy yourself, especially as an adult. Like
Yeah.
when you only have so much time for hobbies.
yeah, it's really obnoxious sometimes.
So
Um,
find new hobbies. That's my advice.
well, don't find new hobbies.
Enjoy old hobbies. I don't know. Enjoy new hobbies. Something like that.
New hobbies are fun.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be. I just need to make sure I know what I can do.
Yeah.
Because, video games are just super easy. Just hop on your computer and sit there and zone out, right?
Totally. Yep.
But the other ones kind of take some work sometimes. But
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to talk about the Ukraine thing?
Yeah. I don't think we could spend a whole lot of time on this, but I thought it was interesting because I read it this week. That happened on Tuesday or whatever. All the political ramifications, and I should probably start out by saying that this dam blew up in Ukraine. It did end up like killing some people downstream, so that was bad. All right, preface with that.
Death is bad.
That is bad. It flooded some areas, so maybe there's like in some farmlands. There's like, all right, maybe there's some ecological concerns, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. That's not fun.
You don't have a degree in ecology?
No.
Wow. So
You're
not going to talk about ecology?
No. And instead, I like to pretend we're journalists for a second, to get into not conspiracy theories or anything, but as far as just what you might think. This dam, right? It's in Ukraine, but it was Russian controlled. They took it relatively close to the start of this conflict.
Sure.
Nobody knows who blew up the dam, and I double checked last night. They're still not really sure. So I wanted to get your take on that, right? As far as how the war is progressing, not the Ukraine, they're called just Ukraine. Ukraine is blaming Russia, and Russia's blaming Ukraine, and so everyone else is watching like, what? Who blew up the dam?
So it was the U.S.
It was interested third party involved.
Well, I mean, that's what happened with the stupid Nord Stream pipeline.
The Nord Stream pipeline.
Everyone was like, "Oh, was this like Swedish special operations, or was this Russia like blowing up their own pipe?" And it's like, well, actually, it was the U.S.
Raise his hand. Like, actually, it was us.
I mean,
So
whatever the political aspects of that are,
yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like they did do it.
Yeah, and again, I've listened to some political debates on it, but I just thought it was kind of interesting as far as like from either a discussion or like a military sort of tactical standpoint, right? It is Ukraine's dam in Russian held territory, and the current, from what I understand, the current position of the war is Ukraine is kind of on the offensive now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of pushing Russia back out of their territory. And so I can kind of see it both ways. It's like, oh, maybe Ukraine did it, maybe Russia did it.
The problem is, so the point of this war,
Mm-hmm.
at least what Russia claims the point of this war is that they're trying to reintegrate Ukraine into Mother Russia,
The Soviet Union,
and
but not.
get rid of the legitimate threat, whether that's real or made up, of Nazis in Ukraine.
Sure.
That's like the premise of
That's the claim,
that's
yeah.
what Russia's claiming, right? Well, whether that's true or not, like who knows?
Whatever. Yeah. That's.
I don't know, right? I don't even know if I could guess on that.
Yeah.
Right? But so if Russia is trying to reintegrate Ukraine into Mother Russia, you can rebuild cities relatively easily,
Yeah.
and like townships and things like that, and roads are relatively easy
Sure.
to rebuild. Dams are not.
Oh, okay.
And so for them to destroy a dam, which produces a lot of electric power, would be not good for them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense because you're gonna, this war is costing you gajillions of dollars,
And if they
or whatever, rubles or whatever they use, right?
and obviously if they want to win, and if they take over that territory, permanently or whatever, they're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to fix it, right?
You have a dam that's flooded everything downstream. Yeah.
And that dams, there's not really any reason to build dams other than to prevent flooding or to produce electric power.
Hydroelectric power.
And usually it's for a combination of the two, right?
Sure. It's convenient for both. Yeah.
Yeah. Or to make water table reserves, but I don't think they need that in that part of the world.
I think so.
I think Ukraine is pretty
good on water.
I think they have rain pretty frequently. I don't think they're a desert or in drought territory. I don't know that, but I think so. And so, why would Russia destroy a dam that ostensibly they want to integrate back into their country and use the resources from,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And provide a cheaper electricity to Russian citizens now, right? Why would they do that instead of just keeping the dam and if they're trying to prevent Ukrainians from using the dam as an access point to Russia,
from crossing? Yeah, because it's
then just put a massive blowing a massive hole in the road is going to do
Probably
almost the
as
same
effective.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
From what I studied, it's since Ukraine's kind of on the offensive, the theory was okay, they flooded the areas downstream of that dam, and Ukraine is has a lot of tanks, as we talked about last week, and so it slows tanks coming across.
Yeah, that's true.
Could be an idea, could be a reason.
Yeah, tanks are actually, it's kind of funny. Tanks are actually they're good across normal terrain.
Yeah.
They really suck against man-made terrain.
Yeah.
Meaning, it's really easy to stop a tank from moving forward.
Just in a city or whatever, an urban, man-made.
Well, not on roads or anything like that, right?
Okay,
but if you would just put concrete barriers,
yeah,
just in the ground, tanks can't go over them because their tracks slip off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, that's what those you see in World War II pictures of Normandy or whatever. There's the three steel I-beams or whatever. Those are anti-tank pickets.
Gotcha. Yeah, but then you could also string barbed wire across
for anti-personnel.
Yeah. So it was kind of dual purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so is blowing up a dam easier? Probably.
Maybe.
But is it worth it? On the Ukrainian side, though, it's okay, we're going to have to rebuild our cities anyway.
Yeah.
And, we don't want Russia mobilizing more troops into the controlled territory that they already have.
Yep. As we're
and so if we can prevent them from filling in one of these areas because,
because they can just redirect troops away from that area. They don't even have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah. And so, Russia has to find other bridges across this river in that area or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I could, there's reason for Ukraine to blow it up and not reason for Russia to blow it up.
Okay, yeah.
Other than they don't want Ukraine using the electricity.
Yeah.
But if they already control the dam, they probably have already shut off the electricity.
Sure.
And so it's okay, well, if you control the dam, you control where the electricity goes. So,
that was the plot of Fallout New Vegas, actually. It was a good video.
There you go.
It was 200 years in the future after a post-apocalyptic war, and everybody left was fighting for control of Hoover Dam in Las Vegas.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. It was a good game.
That's
good plot.
hilarious. But yeah, the only ones I see that have a reason to do it would be Ukraine.
I thought it was interesting. I looked up a point was that as to Russia perhaps doing it. It's like Russia has a history of sort of a scorched earth policy
Oh.
in war. Sometimes they, I think when Napoleon invaded, they like burned Moscow down or something. You're like, that's kind of crazy. And then they've blown up, I think in World War II, and they've blown up a dam before, I want to say.
Well,
So that's almost like an oddly specific track record there.
I didn't know that, so that might. I mean, it
Yeah.
it leads to some theories, but like you have to think like those two wars were their attempts at kicking out invaders.
Yeah, it was a land invasion
And
of
so
Russia.
they're you're going to do anything to kick out invaders, and so right now Ukraine is Russia in those two situations.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good
You know,
comparison.
so in those two situations, Russia was being invaded.
Mm-hmm.
Now Russia is the invader.
The invader, and Ukraine's trying to defend, and maybe it's
And so
any means
you know,
necessary, yeah.
The invader always has the most to lose.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah.
Because if you're fighting for your own land, your own country, your own people,
You got
you're
home
going to give it
field
everything.
advantage.
You have home field advantage,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to give it everything, man.
Yeah.
It's like if someone is invading your country, maybe that invader doesn't even want to do it, so they're not going to fight as much as
Yeah.
you are to defend your family and your friends and your way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They got drafted, they're getting paid for it, whatever. Like,
I mean, you can see that even with the Middle East wars,
oh, sure, yeah.
like car bombs
Mm-hmm.
to kill a few hundred to kill a couple of foreigners,
Yeah.
take out a whole city block.
Yeah,
you
that's really sad to see, yeah.
But if that's the mentality behind it, right? And obviously we're not condoning car bombing,
No.
right? But the mentality behind it is like there is a foreign invader.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do everything in my power to get this foreign invader out.
From
And-
your point of view, yeah, protect your family,
and
protect your livelihood.
We can rebuild afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
If we kick them out, we can make them pay us back for invading our country.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But if you're the invader, you kind of have it's like, do we really want to keep doing this? Like we're throwing hundreds of thousands of dudes at this. They're all dying. We're losing
not worth
tanks.
it.
We're losing weaponry. We're losing money. Like,
Yeah.
at what point do you just say like, well, frickin' A, man?
Give up.
Or do you say in for a penny, in for a pound?
Yeah. Already in too deep.
Like, is this like a, oh yeah, we're just gonna go in until the country is bankrupt and then we can't do it anymore and just say like, well, we lost?
Yeah.
Or is it like more tactical, where it's like, okay, or like at what point are we?
Think about World War II. I remember hearing, studying in history classes, like, again, not to talk about the loss of life, but like, Japan was determined to like fight to the last. Like that was their culture at that time, especially of just like the honor, like death before defeat or whatever.
Yep.
Like that sort of mentality. And it is terrible, but there would have been more loss of life. Every historian agrees on this. There would have been more loss of life had we not dropped the nuclear bombs.
Oh, 100%.
Because we would have had to do a land invasion of Japan, and every like man, woman, and child would have fought back.
Yeah.
Until you just demoralized them with a couple cities, and then finally they was like, all right, that's not worth it.
Yeah, we showed them what the freaking sun looked like.
Yeah, right. But it worked. It worked. I heard after the first bomb that most like the people, the common folk, were like, this is bad. We're not gonna mess with that. Like, let's just give up. But it was still the higher ups, the politicians. And then after the second bomb, they were convinced.
Yeah, which is a good thing because we didn't have any more bombs.
They didn't know that. We were out of bombs. There were plans to invade. We had them like drafted.
Yeah.
It's like that would have just been bloody and terrible. So invader versus invadee. Invaded.
Invader versus defender.
Defender.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got your perspective on that.
Yeah. So if I were to bet on it, which I mean, it'd be a stupid bet, right?
Yeah.
But I would bet on Ukraine over Russia.
Yeah. There was one
like 60-40 or something like that.
Sure. As a little addendum, a little end note to the topic, the last thing I read last night was that someone intercepted like some Russian radio transmission or whatever, and it was kind of hard to like interpret, but the Russians on that radio transmission insinuated it was potentially a I joked about it earlier, but a third interested party, like a sabotage group, like in Russia, maybe did that. And I was like, that could be. Well, I guess maybe we'll have to see if that ends up holding any water. But that was just like, yeah, some Russian like domestic terrorists, give or take.
Well, I think that, not to spend too long on the topic, right?
Yeah.
You already tried to close it out, but I'm stupid and want to say something. I think there are factions within Russia who don't want to be fighting in this war.
Sure, yeah.
And who are probably actively trying to stop it. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But
Yeah.
I've heard of some, but I don't have any like sources to corroborate that hearsay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so, like, I can't just say for 100% certain, like, yes, there's a resistance.
Totally. Yeah.
But my best guess, and from what I've seen some stuff on, is like, yeah, there's like small groups here and there that are working against their own country to stop this invasion and stuff.
Gotcha.
Like that. But you wanted to share a quote with me.
Yes. Yeah. Not to steal all the topics, but
No, you're fine.
let me pull it up.
You said your dad shared this with you? Is
Yeah.
that a quote from the Library of Congress?
He's in the Library of Congress. They're on the East Coast right now.
Oh, cool.
Touring. Actually, I think they're just in DC for a week. I mean, there's tons to see there.
What is this for? Your younger brother?
Yeah. Basically, since he's
Like a
leaving.
senior trip or whatever?
Yeah, kind of a senior
Gotcha.
trip. He graduated, so my little sister went as well. But
Cool.
so yeah, he sent me this early this morning that they're touring the Library of Congress right now. Super cool, and it's I'll show you. It's just like up above like a window or whatever, just on the wall.
It says, books must follow sciences and not sciences books. Interesting.
Yeah.
Books must follow sciences, not sciences follow books.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It's
Like
in the Library of Congress. So it's
interesting.
pretty old, generally, an old saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think, or maybe I want to hear your interpretation first if you have one, but
Books must follow science, not science follow books. Yeah, that's an interesting.
mm-hmm.
Like, what do I think it means? Like, what do I think its ramifications are? Like, what do you?
Let's start with the surface level first, I guess. Just what do you think it means?
Well, I think it means that they're like, before you start spouting off nonsense, you probably should test that nonsense,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, I do this with all of my not all of my hobbies, but like the majority of my hobbies, where it's like, you know, in Magic, you like play test a deck before you like commit to that new deck.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I don't even know if this thing is gonna work.
Yeah.
If this even makes sense.
Like with gun stuff, right? Like if you're developing a new hand-loaded cartridge, like you're like, okay, well I think this many grains of powder and this bullet weight, and you know, like, oh, I need, you know, my barrel, should I like ream it out to this or whatever, right? Like get super nitty-gritty details. It's like you usually like, before you're like, oh yeah, this new random caliber that I've, like this new hand load for 308 or whatever is like the best thing since sliced bread. And it's like, well, oh yeah, well, like, how many rounds have you shot it at? What's your like velocity, and you know, what's your terminal coefficient? Blah 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 blah. What's your ballistic coefficient? And you're like, oh, I haven't run any tests yet. I just know for a fact that this is the truth.
I guarantee
And
it.
I guarantee it's the best thing since sliced bread. And it's like, you sure?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what it's saying, right? Is like, before you just start spouting off nonsense, how do you like do some tests or do some research and stuff like that?
Yeah. I like that it kind of harkens back to an older era when, I mean, back in this time, a lot of science was relatively new. I'm thinking like Founding Fathers age. And it was almost more of like an accolade to publish a book with your findings, whether you were based on the field you were in, whether it was science or if you were like a statesman. You know, a lot of those Founding Fathers were like politicians. Back then was a different word. I mean, we said kind of statesman. They talked about like human rights and the rights of the government and sort of that symbiotic relationship. But yeah, anyone in their sort of field, it's a high praise if you can like publish your findings. And these days with the internet, getting maybe onto some of the ramifications, anyone can publish anything. Anyone can claim to be an expert on something. so as far as that, like, books must follow sciences, maybe not books per se, but like writings, tweets must follow sciences, and not sciences following tweets. So it's like hard facts shouldn't come from our opinions.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the world would be a much better place if everyone just listened to that.
Yeah, that's generally what I believe too.
Like, if everyone just took 15 seconds to not let their mouth run faster than their brain.
And tweet the first thing that comes to your mind,
Yeah.
or you text it angry.
That's an interesting. I like that kind of historical look at it though, where it's like, oh yeah, like the founding fathers were, or that generation, that era, right? Was okay. We do the science and we publish it, and if you are like get through the peer reviewed publishing aspects of it, it's like, oh yeah, you've published a book and now you are like an expert in that field. Whereas now it's like any Joe Schmo can just write an article
Yeah,
and get it published anywhere.
and it's what, like, I'm not to get all nitpicky, but it's like, yeah, you don't know the person who wrote that article that you're reading. Like, you don't know
Yeah.
the background,
Yeah.
their qualifications.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I decided to comment on the ecological impacts of a dam blowing up in Ukraine.
Yeah,
Like, I could make something up.
I'm not an expert on that, so don't take it as science. Don't take it as,
Yeah.
as law.
I mean, heck, everything you think about has to be taken with, like, even like internally with your own internal monologue
Mhm.
has to be taken with a grain of salt, because there might be some aspect of it that you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? You might consider yourself. I do this all the time, and you know, not to toot my own horn. I'm so humble. I know when I'm wrong. Like, it's definitely something I've had to work on, right?
Yeah.
But like with gun stuff, like it's such a passion of mine that like I'm confident that I know more about guns than probably 95% of the world.
Certainly, yeah, the average person.
But then, you know, and maybe higher than that. I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's always something that I can learn,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's
Yeah.
always something new where I'm like, shoot, man, that like throws something like this one thing that I've held in like such high regard for forever. Like, oh yeah, this one aspect is truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then someone brings something up and I'm like, frick, man, now I've got to reframe my whole knowledge base to like compensate for the fact that something that I've built some other knowledge on is now wrong because
Yeah.
this other thing disproves it, you know?
Right,
And
right.
so it's like being able to do that with yourself is important, and I think that's kind of what that quote is saying, right?
yeah.
It's like, how about we
Yeah.
like do some research and like think about stuff before we just start writing it down and making it permanent.
Uh-huh. And I think that's almost, I mean, I want to say that's inherently part of the human experience is keep learning. Don't let yourself get stagnant.
Yeah.
And don't claim. I mean, there are certainly experts out there, but don't claim to be an expert on everything. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all different. We're all unique, and as you said, even experts can keep learning.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you think about like science, that's the whole point of science,
Mm-hmm.
is to further investigate claims.
The scientific method is built on asking questions like, hey,
Yeah.
does this thing work or does it not work, and let's
It's-
test it.
It's one of the great tragedies in the world when people, regular Joe Schmoes, and people with influence and power and like research capability
Mm-hmm.
make crap up that then becomes common knowledge, so to speak.
It becomes truth.
Yeah. Like there's always rumors in like the gun community and stuff like that where it's like these old timers will make some junk up
Yeah.
where it's like, oh yeah, this happened, and then it just gets pervaded throughout the entire gun culture, and then like you sit there and you think about it, you're like, no, that's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the one that comes to mind is that in World War II, the Germans would wait for the pings of the M1 Garands when the clip would be ejected to then move positions.
Huh.
It's like, okay, what is the average fighting distance in World War II? 100 yards? 200 yards?
Yeah.
Less?
You're gonna hear
50 yards? Let's say it's 50 yards, right? Can you hear a little boing from 50 yards away with 4 other rifles shooting 8mm Mauser going off right next to you?
Or maybe you've got artillery shells or planes flying
Or a
overhead.
freaking, just an engine of a tank next to you.
Yeah.
And you're just listening, you're just sitting there like,
That's a ping. It's
Ping!
time to move.
Oh, let's go. Like
We have-
obviously
we
that's
have 5 seconds.
obviously that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But
But that was a legitimate thing that
Belief.
people said for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Like for probably 3 decades, people were
Wow,
saying that.
yeah. A lot of the science field I remember from chemistry, like in school, is built on like, and again, there's no one really like super recent that I can think of off the top of my head, but a lot of like old chemists were based off of like trying to like prove or disprove like previous guys.
Sure.
They were, and this was from like 1500s through like the 1800s, and a lot of them ended up inherently finding something else out that
Sure.
maybe they didn't even realize at the time, but they like recorded their findings. And it wasn't until years later they're like, yeah, you tried to like disprove this last guy's thing about whatever, but you found the mass of an atom. Good for you. Like, it's so random, but it was that same idea of like, I could be wrong, but they didn't necessarily try to be like, this is law, this is the one thing, but they were still learning.
Yeah. I think another problem is that besides like people falsifying data or making things up,
Mm-hmm.
is who pays for the study to be done, especially in like the scientific field.
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem. I mean,
Yeah.
funding is like necessary to run these experiments, right?
Totally.
And like it's really important.
But is there another vested interest besides
But
just...
you know, if you know, Heinz comes up to you and says like, "Hey, we want to test this new
ketchup?
tomato ketchup product or whatever." Like, I'm just making crap up,
Sure,
right?
sure. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and we replaced this one random chemical or ingredient with another random chemical ingredient. Like, we need you to do a statistical sample analysis and tell us which one is better.
Here's $4 million.
Here's $4 million to do that, and it's like, both are good.
this one, Heinz, you guys did great. This one's perfect.
Exactly. It's like, and it's like, oh yeah, and if you do well on this, we'll do another study with you. And it's like, oh, so I can get another $4 million for running another experiment if like I do well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, what does doing well mean? It's like obviously giving the company that paid you for the study
Is that what
the
they want
most
to hear?
favorable answer.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you don't want to tell Heinz that your new tomato, your new ketchup sucks.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. It tastes like trash, and you should just the $20 million that you've sunk into it. Yeah, just forget about it. It's like, or you can get another $4 million, and like it's not that much worse than regular ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one's gonna notice.
Sure,
right?
sure. Yeah, maybe that's a...
That's like a random example, right?
Yeah.
And like obviously, like I don't think Heinz does that with their ketchup. I don't think like that's a thing that they do.
I'm assuming Heinz is has integrity as a company that they... Yeah.
Just the most. It was the first thing that came to mind, right?
Yeah.
And like, but with scientific experiments, it's like, oh yeah, if what's the effects of like cigarettes, for example.
Yeah,
It
okay.
used to be like a health thing to smoke cigarettes. Like,
for the-
90% of doctors say that this is good. It was like, well, those doctors were all paid by the cigarette companies.
By big tobacco.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if that's 100% valid.
Right,
But-
yeah. Can I see the scientific evidence of that? Like...
Oh no, that's a trade secrets, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a study funded by the tobacco companies, so now it's like property of the companies, not
Yep.
of the scientists.
Totally.
Like,
Thinking about that being in the Library of Congress, I think my dad said, what did he say? He's like, oh, that's kind of a lost ideal these days, or something like that.
Certainly.
Yeah, he just said, oh yeah, we used to know these things. Is kind of his just very general statement.
We used to know these things.
Certainly, as a lawmaker, you would hope that there is no other vested interest, that you are trying to compile all the research before you and make the best decision, changing or modifying laws as time progresses. But
Yeah.
you bring up a really interesting point about that, of like, okay, but how many hands are in the pie? Who's paying them behind the scenes? It's just
Yeah.
re-election is up next year, so there's a lot of different factors.
This is something that maybe we can end on this thought, is that lawmakers in general, regardless of which party you like to vote for.
Yep.
We're not trying to make this political at all, right? Like, we're not trying to be partisan. But there's definitely a need for all politicians to take a chill pill.
Yeah.
Because every single time that a new president or a new governor or a new representative comes in, they're like, we're changing everything.
Everyone
and it's
loses
like,
their minds.
oh my gosh, come on. And like half the country's like, seriously, we just got this like put in, like we think it's good. The other half's like, woo! And then there's like me in the middle, like, okay, like I didn't like that, but I don't like this either.
I don't really care either way, but we already did this.
It's like, how about we like figure out the impacts of these studies or of these laws before, like try to do like an analysis beforehand and then like study the effect afterwards, because like
make
maybe,
a logical decision based on that. Like, don't just
maybe the law that the Republicans are trying to overturn is actually like not half bad, and maybe the new law that the Democrats are trying to push through really sucks. And it's like, okay, like
let's study it out. Like it's supposed
like,
to be
take a chill, and like I really think that everyone, it's like, oh yeah, the new governor is Republican. It's like, okay, like if they really want like the best for like the people that they represent, it's like, how about we just calm down? We don't need to pass a law a day.
Yeah.
Especially when, you know, the country's been around for freaking 250 years. We don't need a law per day. We need, like, maybe one law per year.
Yeah. And abolish 10 of them.
Yeah, especially, like, the ones that just, like, overlap so significantly. I was listening to a freaking court trial the other day, and they were, like, giving the sentence for this guy. And they threw, like, 7 different... It was, like, one crime that he committed. But they, like, charge him with, like, 17 different things. And they're, like, all the same thing, but, like, slightly different. It's like they charge him with assault, and then assault with a deadly weapon.
Yeah, assault
like,
and battery. Or, you know, like,
yeah, and it's like, okay, he got charged for assault twice. It's like, yes, but it was assault in the first degree, the first one, and then assault with a deadly weapon in the second one. It's like, it's assault! It's assault with a baseball bat!
But different laws. Yeah.
It's like, but, you know, now he's going to get tried for both of those, and it's like, well, if he got convicted guilty of assault with a deadly weapon, then obviously he's guilty of assault too, right?
He's like, I plead guilty to one of those counts, but innocent to the other.
It's like,
it wasn't a baseball bat. I used my fists. Like,
yeah, it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And so I just think that, like, everyone just needs to calm down, stop passing so many stinking laws, even if you 100% believe that they are so good for the like if you 100% believe that this one law will save the country.
But yeah, let's sit down and...
If it really would do that, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think any one law would.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Then let's all sit down and look at it and say, like, okay, is it going to do what it wants to do? How much is it going to cost?
Yep.
And is it actually going to be beneficial?
Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's get not just opinions per se, but let's get experts, or even, you could say opinions, but experts in their field. Like I said, you think about the Founding Fathers again, their quote-unquote two-party system, it wasn't Republican-Democrat, it was Federalist and Anti-Federalist, but there were several of those men who drafted the Constitution. It took both of them.
Yep.
They both groups were kind of experts at that theory, at that system of belief, and they were able to come together and talk about things and evaluate it while being experts in their own individual ways.
And I think another problem is that this country is so massive, and other countries that are massive also probably suffer from a very similar thing, that people in one state and one state's representatives want to pass laws that would affect the entire country, when the entire country is very Arizona is way different than Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
totally. And Pennsylvania is way different than Wyoming. And Wyoming is way different than Florida. Yeah. And so they should have different laws. Maybe in freaking, Pittsburgh, you shouldn't be able to shoot a hog from your window. Right. If there's a random hog in the freaking middle of the street in Pittsburgh. But if you're in a farm in Texas where they're like a feral problem,
it's a nuisance. They're eating your crops or whatever.
Or killing your dogs or whatever. You should probably be allowed to kill them. Right? So it's like, okay, different laws for different places.
I am certainly of that same belief, that I think it was intended. you read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. This is my interpretation. I think it was intended. We were all supposed to be 50 little experiments.
Yeah.
To experiment the one big experiment of the federal government. Like, if a law works super well in one state, then hey, maybe we can talk about moving this up a level. Let's evaluate it. You talk about like my family's all from Wyoming, right? My parents and extended family. Wyoming was one of the first places that gave women the right to vote. That worked there, ironically, because they needed enough votes in order to become a state. They gave women the right to vote in the territory first. They're like, all right, now we have enough population. Was funny,
They
but
should have given it to cows instead. Would have gotten double the population.
maybe, yeah.
Not that women voting is a bad thing. That was a joke.
Yes,
Just to clarify.
but it was a little experiment that started small, and then you saw, it grew into a big experiment, a big federal government. They're like, hey, we've done the research. This is a good thing. Like,
sure,
everybody, let's do it. And so I think we've lost some of that.
Well, and I think that the bottom up aspect is better. The state up aspect is better than the federal government, this huge bureaucratic entity, trying to trickle down all these laws that like don't fit in they don't fit, right? And I think like with like immigration, this is a huge problem. You know, all of the hot button topics, this is a huge problem. It's like, you know, some of them might be nationally regulatable, right? But like someone in Minnesota, why would they give a rip about the freaking border in New Mexico or in California, Arizona, Texas, whatever, right? It's like, or why would they care about freaking Cuban immigrant? Like, other than like the human aspect of it, right? These people are fleeing whatever,
but it doesn't affect their day-to-day life.
Like,
as local, like everyone always every 4 years, everyone, you know, presidential elections always get more turnout or whatever. It's like, oh, I got to vote for the president, but like your local elections, even down to like the city level, that interaction is like way more important for you as an average American.
Yeah, and I think like when Trump was in office, he had like this whole border wall proposal, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna build a whole wall across the entire southern border. It's like, okay, whether you agree with it or not, right? Whatever. But like, the border goes through California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas.
Should have been.
Two of those have voted blue for like ever. Arizona flip flops. Texas is like red. Right? So it's like, okay, Texas probably agrees with that. Arizona, probably 50-50. California, New Mexico, probably don't agree with that.
Probably not.
Right?
Generally.
So it's like, okay, why don't you give them the option to do it? Like, if Texas wants a border wall,
try it, see if it works.
Give them some funding and see what happens. And if California's like, we are not going to allow this, and they're going to sue you, just don't do it there.
Yeah. Instead of, like, test the science before making it, like, a book. Before making it into law, like, test it out. Instead of saying, this definitely will or won't work, as you said before.
Yeah. And, like, and that might be a bad example, I don't know.
Sure.
But, you know, we've kind of seen the same thing with, like, gun laws. Where some states are super, super restrictive on them. Whether that's good for them or not, it, you know, is up to them. But then other states are super non-restrictive, right? Which is, ultimately, it depends on what the state is. Right?
That's how it should be, probably,
Why does the federal government need to come in and say, like, oh yeah, we need to blanket ban all these different guns, or like restrict your ownership of these guns? Where it's like, in New York City, where like the whole island is like 50 square miles.
Yeah, it's tiny.
And then you have freaking ranches in Wyoming and Montana that are 50 square miles.
And
it's like, there's a huge difference. How many bears live in 50 square miles? And you're just going to say like, oh yeah, you're not allowed to have a gun that can kill a bear.
That can kill a bear, yeah.
It's like, okay, if New York City, the city itself was like, yeah, you're not allowed to have a gun that can kill bears. It's like,
if I lived in New York City, I'd be like, okay.
Like, I don't need this to like... and the U.S. is in a weird position because, you know, we do have these rights enshrined in our, like, original founding document.
There are certain ones
of the ability to own guns, right? But, like, the main idea behind it was, you know, self-protection and protection of your lifestyle, right? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Whether that's from, you know, a individual coming and breaking into your home, trying to murder you or whatever,
Uh-huh.
or
Or
some
bear.
sort of government.
Oh yeah,
thing.
or government. That's
or,
right.
or,
yeah.
or wildlife, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like if the government's like in California, the state banned, and I think the problem is also with states as well, where these states are also just blanket banning things. Like
Maybe
California
a little bit too much
California is like a massive state.
That's
Texas is a
also true.
massive state. Like Alaska is a massive state.
Yeah.
Well, Alaska's a little bit different because they have a population of like 750,000 people.
And they're generally all like
In
along
one spot.
Yeah, along.
But like
one spot.
California, massive state, very different.
Very different. Yeah.
My dad grew up in a town in California
Mhm.
where when he grew up, there was like 25,000 people.
Wow.
There are cities in California with 25 million people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like orders of magnitude bigger.
Big
Right?
difference.
There's a difference between him growing up in this little tiny town
Mm-hmm.
where like there's like one doctor and one dentist,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You're lucky to get a Walmart.
They didn't have
Yeah,
like
they didn't have one. I'm sure. Yeah.
you know. There's a difference between living there where there's farmland and vineyards and things like that, where there's going to be coyotes and
Mhm.
mountain lions and black bears and brown bears in that environment
Yeah.
compared to downtown LA.
Very, very different. Yeah.
And so why are we or why do these governments think it's right to blanket mandate like, oh yeah, we don't think you should have like if the federal government said like, oh yeah, you aren't allowed to have any guns that can kill coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
Like people in New York would be like, okay,
What's a coyote? Never seen one.
like oh no, I can't go out my front door and shoot coyotes anymore
Mm-hmm.
because I have so many of them attacking my kids in the street every single day.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Texas or Wyoming or like Middle America,
Mm-hmm.
if you're living on a
In
ranch,
Texas, they were a pest for a long time. They paid people to hunt coyote. Like,
they do in Utah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can get $50 per pair of ears or
Wow,
something like that.
So
right?
yeah, that's still bad though.
And so it's like there's a huge difference,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Totally.
think that you have to have like bottom up stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I
little
mean,
experiments.
you got to start with like the cities. Like the cities need to like pass a law and see if it works.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it works, maybe the
Bring it to
county
the-
does it
yeah,
or the
county,
state does it,
state.
right? But even then, like, if it's like, if you have a random little town and a city, and the city passed a law that worked for that city,
Yeah.
but the town has like no need for that law, or it would be detrimental to that city,
Mm-hmm.
the state probably shouldn't pass that same law that the city passed because it's
irrelevant.
detrimental to part of their population.
Totally.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That got way deeper than I wanted it to.
No, yeah,
but
and again, we're not experts, but that was cool.
that's just what I,
enjoyed hearing it.
that's what I think. And I was probably a little bit too political, but I feel like I was pretty middle of the road.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that was like,
Seemed relatively common sense to me, but
yay, Communist Manifesto, or you know,
comrade.
what is the,
What's the opposite?
yay, Mein Kampf?
I
Are those two? I don't know if those are
I
the
don't
opposite. I don't know. But,
All right. Well,
shall we end this one?
yeah. Till next time then.
Cool.
Thanks for watching this episode of the 5G Podcast.
We appreciate your time and your comments.
As always, you can find us on all of the social medias, such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
You can also listen to the 5G podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Again, thank you for watching the 5G Podcast. We hope to see you next week.
Thanks for watching this week's episode.
Next week we'll be talking about the new Magic the Gathering Lord of the Rings crossover set, as well as talking about our top 5 snacking foods.
Yeah, see you then. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.